Rabes and Germs, my name's McConaughey, and this is the third installment of Retro Thursdays here on Mishmashers.com. Before sharing my thoughts, I wanted to let all of you know that my novel, The Keynes Files, written alongside my brother Scott Moore, is available on Amazon for $8.99 on paperback and $5.99 on the Kindle. I hope readers will stop to take a look at our episodic crime mystery novel, and maybe even let us know what they think in a review on Amazon. It'd be very much appreciated. Cheers. But next up on our chop block is Batman Forever the arcade game. In case you missed the previous entry in NJ Today's Retro Thursdays, I went and shared my thoughts on the Sega Genesis Batman. Based on the 1989 film of the same name, this is a triple feature for Retro Thursdays, looking at different older Batman video games, same day, same edition of Retro Thursdays, different videos, different articles. I separate them for categorical reasons. Batman Forever the arcade game is a beat-em-up video game developed by Iguana Entertainment, which later went on to become Acclaim Studios Austin, sharing a name with the publisher of Batman Forever the arcade game, Acclaim Entertainment. An interesting side note is that when Acclaim Studios Austin's parent company went belly up in late 2004, most of the employees found out when they showed up to work only to find out the building's manager locked them out from their offices. An acknowledgeable fact also worth mentioning is that Batman Forever the arcade game is separate from the Super NES and Sega Genesis games developed by Probe Entertainment a year prior. Batman Forever boots up on the original PlayStation. It's also available on the Sega Saturn, Arcade, and DOS. With music fresh out of the film it finds its namesake. That is, after a small prompt from the Department of Justice informing us winners don't do drugs. At first, upon playing, I thought to myself the most striking aspect about Batman Forever is the graphics themselves, which, although not necessarily bad, I don't particularly like. Conveniently, they reminded me of the pre-rendered graphics made common on the Sega Saturn and Sega 32X. Or, at the very least, that's where my mind usually leads, and sure enough, Batman Forever was made using Sega's Titan technology, which acted as the foundation for said hardware. The way I would describe them is to say they look like cardboard cutouts pasted in, and although they look detailed, something about them always seems off, especially when it comes to their animation and movement. That said, the animation does provide occasional use of the environment that allows variation, but isn't particularly unique from what we've seen years prior. As far as the gameplay is concerned, the player is allowed the choice of either Batman or Robin, with minimal differences at best depending on which character you decide to play as. Batman Forever does its best to spice up an old formula. The action beat-em-up had become tired even in 1996, and to buck off conventions and stigma, it adds an array of power-ups and maneuvers to keep things interesting in its playthrough. In the end, I would argue that it really works to its detriment more than it does succeed in its intent. Batman Forever's gameplay provides an artificial display of variation, but in its bombastic chaos and loudness, it depletes most of the substance altogether. It isn't something that requires much strategy, nor does it seem to allow much strategy to be implemented. With different power-ups layering the floor and various maneuvers, it doesn't allow anything beyond button mashing together and keeping your fingers crossed. Although it allows blocking, it's a scummy, bottom-of-the-barrel feeling every time a character shows up and can wipe out your entire health bar with a gun or by spinning around a chain. Stringing together combinations can be enjoyable, but in all honesty, in a game where there is so much going on, I found it very difficult to immerse myself into it. Batman Forever the arcade game delivers what everyone would expect, an experience that requires you to spam your enemies, and throughout it, your combatants will return the favor with their own repetitive lunges. At its best, it provides a mindless arcade experience, but at its worst, and in my opinion, it fails and provides a royal cluster of bad guys and overtly encumbered mayhem.